Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into the exact science behind a pretty magical culinary transformation, the art of pickling chilies. We're taking raw, fiery ingredients and turning them into shelf-stable treasures. It's an incredible process, but it requires this exact dance of chemistry and physics that we absolutely have to nail down.
So what's actually standing between our fresh chilies and, well, harmful bacterial contamination? It's a series of totally non-negotiable steps. To make sure our preserves are safe to crack open months down the line, we're essentially building an environment where our culinary enemies, bacteria, simply cannot survive.
Here's our roadmap for doing this safely. First, setting the stage safely. 2, the perfect pickling brine. 3, packing with precision. 4, the boiling water bath. And finally, sealing the deal. All right, step 1, setting the stage safely. A really critical concept to wrap our heads around here is thermal shock. See, washing our glass jars, lids, and pans in hot soapy water, that isn't just about cleaning away dust, it's fundamentally about defending against this exact physical reaction. If you pour boiling liquid into a room temperature jar, the sudden temperature change causes the glass to expand unevenly, and it just shatters. We have to avoid thermal shock at all costs. To prevent that catastrophic thermal shock, we bring in our first critical metric. After washing, you gotta submerge those empty glass jars in a pot of water heated to exactly 180 degrees Fahrenheit. That's roughly 82 degrees Celsius. The jars need to sit in this hot bath until the exact moment they're ready to pack. We're preheating the glass, making absolutely sure it's ready to handle the boiling liquid we're about to throw at it. Moving on to step 2, the perfect pickling brine. Okay, the crucial point here is acidity. Your vinegar must contain a minimum of 5% acetic acid. This is the absolute, non-negotiable baseline for guaranteeing food safety. You literally cannot use a weaker vinegar because the acid is what drops the pH level of the entire jar, creating a totally hostile environment where harmful bacteria simply can't grow. Always, always check your vinegar labels for that vital 5% mark. Once you've got the right vinegar, you're going to combine these exact measurements, equal parts of water and your 5% acetic acid vinegar. Then add 1 tablespoon of non-iodized canning salt for every 3 cups of that liquid mixture. Actually, a quick aside on the salt. We specifically use non-iodized salt because the iodine in regular table salt can make your brine cloudy and discolor the chilies, which we definitely don't want. Bring all of this to a vigorous rolling boil. This boiling brine is our ultimate preservative. It sterilizes our ingredients the second they make contact. While that brine is bubbling away, you'll pack your hot jars with clean, sliced chilies. Now, if you're using whole chilies, there's this brilliant little mechanical trick you need to know. You must prick each whole chili with a pin. Why? Well, whole chilies are full of air. If you don't puncture them to let the liquid in and the air out, they're going to rebelliously bob right up to the surface of your jar, floating completely above the protective brine. That brings us to step 3, packing with precision. When you're ladling that aggressively boiling brine over those beautifully packed chilies, you have to stop before the jar is completely full. You absolutely must maintain exactly a 1/2 inch top margin of empty headspace. That 1/2 inch isn't just a suggestion, it's a carefully calculated buffer zone. It allows the contents to expand during the heating process without overflowing and totally ruining your final seal. Once the liquid is in, we need to run a clean, non-metallic tool. Something like a plastic chopstick works great, along the inside walls of the jar. We do this to release trapped oxygen bubbles hiding out between the chilies. If we leave those bubbles inside, they'll eventually rise to the top, throw off our carefully measured 1/2 inch headspace, and potentially cause the seal to fail. Oh, and remember to use non-metallic tools so you don't accidentally scratch and weaken that heated glass. Now for the cleanup. Even a single microscopic drop of chili oil or a tiny grain of salt from the brine can entirely ruin the airtight seal we're trying to create. So meticulously wipe the rim of the jar with a clean, damp paper towel. Once that rim is flawlessly clean, carefully center the flat lid right on top, and then apply your screw band. When applying that screw band, you must turn it only until you feel resistance. It's what we call fingertip tight. Do not crank it down with all your strength. Just like all of us under pressure, the jar needs a little room to vent. During the intense boiling process we're about to start, the remaining air inside the jar needs to be pushed out from beneath the lid. If the band is too tight, the air can't escape and the jar might actually buckle or break. Okay, step 4, the boiling water bath. Here's the crucible. You'll lower your packed upright jars into a canning kettle. Make sure the water in that kettle is preheated to 180 degrees Fahrenheit so it matches the jars. Again, we are fending off that dreaded thermal shock. The water has to completely cover the tops of the jars by a solid 1 to 2 inches. Pop the lid on the kettle, crank the heat up, and bring that water to a full, visceral rolling boil. Once that rolling boil starts, start your timer. But here's the catch. Your processing time depends entirely on physics and your elevation. If you live at an elevation under 1,000 feet, you process your pint jars for exactly 10 minutes. However, because water boils at a lower temperature the higher up you go, if you're anywhere between 1,000 and 6,000 feet, you have to add 5 extra minutes. That brings your total boil time to 15 minutes, guaranteeing the heat penetrates all the way through the jars. Finally, step 5, sealing the deal. Notice how we're going to dramatically slow the pace down right here. At the 0-minute mark, just turn off the heat, remove the kettle lid, and let the jars settle in the water. After 5 minutes of resting, use your jar lifter to pull them straight up. Whatever you do, do not tilt them. Tilting could cause the hot liquid inside to touch the seal and compromise the whole thing. Place them straight onto a towel-lined surface. And then, for the next 12 to 24 hours, it's just pure patience. They must sit completely untouched. During those hours of resting, you're listening for something very specific. As the jars cool down, the contents inside contract, which pulls the lid downward and creates a vacuum. What you are waiting for is that incredibly satisfying acoustic reward, the sharp, distinct pop sound of the metal lid snapping downward. That pop means your vacuum has successfully formed. After that 12 to 24-hour waiting period, you need to physically verify the seal. Just test the center of the lid with your finger. If it's depressed and firm, huge congratulations, you have a successful seal, and those chilies are pantry safe for months. But if the lid center pops back up when you press it, the seal failed. Don't panic. That unsealed jar just has to go straight into the refrigerator immediately to stop our old bacterial enemies from taking over. It's still totally delicious, it's just not shelf-stable. By mastering these mechanics, you've conquered thermal shock, balanced acidity, and safely captured incredible flavor in a glass jar. It absolutely takes patience and precision, but the reward is so undeniable. So, armed with this knowledge, what culinary alchemy are you going to attempt to